Hi there, freedom fighters. My name is Teresa Bacola, and I was arrested by the Carmel by the Sea Police Department in July of 2020 for being on Carmel Beach in California. This was 5 months into an ever expanding government overreach, and I hadn't done much of anything except get irritated and complain. But I became irate when I saw an announcement in the paper 1 week prior to the 4th of July weekend that they were going to be closing our beaches because the social distancing, life-saving necessity was just too much of a risk, and the people couldn't be trusted with their own lives. So we had to be threatened with being sent to bed without any supper. So right now, I want to show you the threat that was posted to the Carmel by the Sea Police Officers Association 2 days after I was arrested on Facebook. All right, so in this notice, the Carmel by the Sea Police Officers Association announced that we, the people, were not allowed to surf or swim or play water sports. And if we did not observe the beach closure, we would be punished with jail time and or up to a $1,000 fine and charged with entering a disaster area. We were told that this was because the beach would become overcrowded and the COVID boogeyman was floating around on the wind and the water, and we may all kill one another. Well, I had just about had enough by this point. So, okay, now you can take that down. All right. So I called the city administrator of Carmel, Chip Rarig, and I tried to talk him out of it. And what he said was that unfortunately they had tried for a while to allow us on it, but the teenagers weren't keeping their social distance. And so he was left with no choice but to exert dominance over his subjects. Well, that's not exactly what he said, but that's what he meant. That he was left with no choice but to close it, as though he was a duke. And we'll see in a few minutes that I am actually referred to as a subject in the police report. I also wound up calling Officer Greg Johnson, who we're going to meet in a couple of minutes because he's one of the officers that wound up arresting me. And I had the same, it was a similar conversation as what I had with the city administrator. And I did the best that I could to appeal to Officer Johnson's humanity and convince him to disobey this order and instead be a hero and protect his community from tyranny. Actually, what he wrote in the paper, in his police report, is I spoke with the subject. Subject is a very interesting word, who identified herself as Teresa Bacola via telephone, and she wished to express her disagreement with the beach being closed. She stated it was her God-given right to walk in nature, and it was against proper morals to close the beach and not allow people on it. During the conversation, Bacola asked me if she could be arrested or cited for being on the beach, and I notified she would be. I actually don't think I don't think that I asked him this, because at the time I was not intending to do what I did, but I can't be certain. Because when I drove down to the beach, I really had no clue what I was about to do. But the whole thing really took me by surprise because they had erected steel barricades across the edge of the parking lot that we use for access to the beach. They had police officers that were keeping guard. They had CERT team members that certified emergency response that were walking around and barking out orders at people to not go near the beach. They had strung up police tape all the way along the edge of the beach on scenic as though it was a crime scene. And there was only one police vehicle that was patrolling the water's edge. So I've had people give me credit since then for what happened, but it really had nothing to do with me. I don't like public speaking. I hate being the center of attention, but when I saw everything that had been done to our beautiful beach, I was possessed by another force, and some could call it the Holy Spirit, where I opened my mouth and it was a call to arms. And I yelled to the crowd, it was probably about 20 people, and I said, that beach is a gift from God. We have a duty to go down there and stand against this tyranny. Who's with me? I need the men. I'm prepared to be arrested. Don't let a woman go out there and do your job for you. And one boy yelled to me, he said, have fun getting arrested, lady. So I was laughed at. And what we're about to see, I also told them that the government does not own the beach and that it belongs to all of God's children. So we're going to see right now, this is Officer Johnson as he walks past probably the identical crowd, the identical people as I had called to. And then we're going to see how completely deserted this gift from God was. Cue up. So this beach should have been packed. This was the 4th of July weekend, and there should have been more life, dogs, people, children, instead of 2 police officers. So the police department has muted all of these people, but everyone was too frightened to go out there and stand against this. So they let me do it alone. And we'll see in a moment, I'm going to meet Officer Johnson. Okay, Will, you could forward to, I think it's 122. All right. So as we're going to see in our interaction now, remember that this is the officer that I spoke to earlier in the day. He's smug. He's condescending. He talks down to me as though there are no repercussions for committing a theft of biblical proportions and that they have ultimate tyrannical power over all they supposedly serve. All right. Roll the tape.
Hi. I'm not. It's not a debate. The beach is closed. Are you the one that called?
Yes. Are you the one that I spoke to?
You are.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. So, and I also told you if you come down here, you can be arrested.
Okay.
All right. So I need you to leave the beach.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I'm trespassing?
Look, do you want to go to jail?
No, I think I just prefer to speak with you about it. That's
Okay.
all.
I already had this conversation with you. I had a very long, extensive conversation with you, and I'm not going to get into this debate with you.
Okay.
So you have 2 choices. You can either go to jail or you can get off the beach.
Okay. Is the corporal here? Can I speak with him?
He is, but I'm the
Is that
watchman.
him?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what. Why don't you go up there and wait up there, and he'll come meet you.
He's going to meet me up there?
Go right to where my car is, and he'll meet you there.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, sure.
Ida 2, Lincoln 3. Can you respond to my car at Scenic and 8th? There's a lady who would like to speak to you. She wants a different answer about the beach than I gave her.
Okay, stop there. Well. So he really, I'm doing the best that I can at this point to still ignite his humanity, to be cordial, to find a remnant of the hero that he wanted to become, I assume, when he signed up to be a police officer. And to them, they can exert dominance over me. And so I'm like an object or a slave or something. Next, we are going to meet Officer Joseph Boucher. So now this has all been ordered by one man, the city administrator, Chip Rarig, and he has colluded and conspired with the chief of police, Paul Tomasi. There's just two men that decided to do this to a gift from God. And that was because they were keeping it was under the pretensions of keeping the people safe, because we are not sovereign, self-aware beings capable of making our own decisions. And we we can't be trusted because we might get too close to one another and kill another human being from a disease that's floating around just off the water and on the sand and in our breath. So Officer Boucher is going to have the same condescending attitude towards me. He talks down to me. He is going to begin harassing Jay and then threatening me with arrest. So, okay, roll the clip. There's just a man.
Yeah, when you start this way, it doesn't look very happy. Sir! Come here! Come here! It's a closed beach, you gotta leave, sir. It's a closed beach, you gotta leave. You're on sand, sir. Hi, do you know him? Do you know this gentleman? Because he's about to get arrested. Or do you know this gentleman? Trespassing on a closed beach, hazardous conditions. Okay, if you know him, I suggest that you talk him out of the water and talk him off the beach.
Who owns the beach?
The city of Carmel does.
Isn't that a public entity?
Yes, but the city has control over the beach, correct? They can close a beach if there's a hazardous condition, which there is right now.
Well, if it's a public entity, then shouldn't the public...
I mean, if you want, you could go to jail too.
Yeah.
That's really what you want.
No, I just wanted to talk with you about it.
Okay, well, I need to deal with him. If you know him, get him over here, and we can talk about it all together.
I think I just wanted to ascertain who it is that owns the beach.
Okay, well, the city is incorporated, and it's part of the beach. It's a city easement, okay? I'm not going to sit here and have an argument with you about it, because I'm in the right.
Yeah, I don't want to argue with you.
Okay.
Either. Actually, I've made it before.
Okay, great. Do you know this gentleman? Can you help me with him, please? Before he goes to jail for something really silly and stupid.
And what's the offense?
Delaying, obstructing an officer in the course of his duties. It's called obstructing an officer. Okay? I'm giving him an unlawful order. If he doesn't abide by it, he goes to jail for something really stupid.
Unlawful?
Yes.
So this is a law that people are not allowed to walk on the beach right now?
There's beach closed signs. There's a reason why we have the beach closed. There's a pandemic going on. I don't know if you've seen the news lately. Okay? It's a hazardous condition on the beach. Okay?
So people being in nature is hazardous to their health?
Yes.
How so?
Okay? The city has deemed, this county has deemed that these beaches are not a good place for people to gather, right?
Right.
So if you want to wait over here, I need to go talk to this gentleman. Or you can go talk to that officer.
Okay, you can stop it there, Will.
I'm sorry?
Okay, so despite the calm exterior that I may be projecting, I was actually pretty scared about having to go down there and face these guys alone, because I knew what was at stake. It was just an arrest. It was just a night, but to have called to the people and to go out there alone, it was quite scary. And incidentally, what Officer Johnson put on his report was that my demeanor was irrational. You want to show that? That's how Officer Johnson defined my interaction with both him and Officer Boucher. And what we're about to see next is they chased Jay down the beach, and I'll show you in a couple of minutes what actually happened with Jay. But first, I want to show you what happens after I come back from the bluff, because Corporal Bruno never shows up. So I walk down back to the beach, and I'm just standing there a few feet away from the water. What we're about to see are multiple crimes multiple constitutional violations and violations of their own policy manual. So Officer Johnson is going to mute his body camera on 2 occasions within this 4-minute video. That is a violation of the Carmel Police Department Policy Manual 450.5 because they're supposed to be wearing their recording devices on at all times, and then 450.5.2, which is cessation, and that they must leave it on continuously. Officer Boucher is not wearing any of his weaponry, and he's not wearing his body camera. The reason that Officer Johnson is not part of the reason, and we're going to find out another part of the reason in a couple of minutes, is because I'm obviously not a threat. So they are going to throw handcuffs on me. You want to put that screenshot on? So this is out of the Carmel Police Department Policy Manual. Although recommended for most arrest situations, handcuffing is discretionary and not an absolute requirement of the department. Officers should consider handcuffing any person they reasonably believe warrants that degree of restraint. However, officers should not conclude that in order to avoid risk, every person should be handcuffed regardless of the circumstances. So it goes on to say in that policy that they are not to be used as a show of force or to assert their authority. We're also going to watch Officer Johnson take my purse off my shoulder. Officer Boucher starts digging into my pockets. Johnson takes my purse, he puts it on the hood of his vehicle. He takes my keys from Boucher, he throws my keys on the hood of his vehicle, and then he just starts rifling through my purse. So go ahead, Will.
What's your location?
Scenic and
Well,
nice.
he had to go because your husband refused to get out of the water when he was instructing multiple
Not my
cases.
husband, I don't know him.
And we gave him the warning that if he continues, that he will be arrested for 2 different offenses, right? And he just continued walking, and we had no choice. He forced us to go out in the water to get him.
He knows no choice.
Stop with that.
He forced
Okay,
us.
so drop your back. You're gonna go to jail with him.
Because you were advised earlier.
Yeah, you're
Get to the
gonna
beach,
They
you
think
refused to help
nothing
your husband
of
out of the
just-
water when I asked you to.
I'm going to get
So now
mugged.
you're also going to jail. Okay. So you'll only be charged with
No
violating the
reason
first
to handcuff
for
me.
entering
I
a closed
pose no
area.
threat.
Okay. As long as you don't resist or anything, that's the only thing you'll be charged with. You understand? So you're gonna need to provide your information. Okay. When you get booked at county jail, you're both going to county jail. If you fail to provide that information, they will keep you as long as they need for you to provide your
My
information. So if you continue to non-cooperate with them or us, basically you'll be held. They have no recourse.
So what happens here is that Boucher continues to threaten me that if I do not violate my Fourth Amendment right, they're going to keep me for as long as they need to until I provide my information.
Consent to
Jennifer,
a search.
I got another one in custody.
I do not consent to a search.
What's the
I
location?
have every right. You're violating my
Scenic and
rights.
nice. It's the other guy's wife.
I do not consent to a search.
Just takes my phone out, starts pushing the buttons on my phone.
Do you have anybody that can do a
Now Johnson is just going to dig right through my bag. Carmel by the Sea police officers.
I do not consent to a search.
You do have the right to remain silent.
Now he's going to make fun of me. Now he's going to prop my purse open. They're just going to take my money,
That's her bag.
Yeah.
dig all my money out of my pockets while I'm restrained. Now Officer Johnson is going to search my phone in violation of Riley versus California, 2014 U.S. Supreme Court ruling. Officers may generally not search a phone of someone who is under arrest. Still reaching for my money.
Good.
So what Officer Johnson has just done is violate my Fourth Amendment right, my Fifth Amendment right, and he has taken out a weapon that I have actually used for self-defense. in the past, and that is bear mace. So he is going to recommend on his police report that I be prosecuted for possession of an unlawful amount of tear gas pepper spray, and that's Penal Code 22900. And you can show the screenshot. So this is off of Johnson's police report. I request a copy of this report be forwarded to the Monterey County District Attorney's Office for review and prosecution of Teresa Picola for 409.5, that is entering in an enclosed area. What they actually called it was a disaster area. And 22900 PC, possession of an unlawful amount of tear gas / pepper spray. The problem with this is what I had is not tear gas. There are active ingredients in mace, which are derivatives of pepper. They're natural, and they are capsicum and capsicanoids. It says it right there on the can that he took out of my purse. Tear gas has an active ingredient, which is a much more caustic man-made chemical. So Officer Johnson is recommending that I do up to a year in jail, pay a $2,000 fine, or both for possession of a weapon that I did not possess. So they're going to steal this from me. What we're about to see next is what happened to Jay, who was the man that came down on the beach to play with his dog. Officer Johnson and Boucher stalked this man as he was in the surf, and he's armed with a ball launcher because he went down there to play with his dog. And the 3 officers or thugs involved in this next incident are Corporal Bruno, Detective Jacob Clifford, and Officer Boucher of the Carmel by the Sea Police Department. And so go ahead and show that, Will. So the one that's out front there is Officer Boucher. And he tackles this man, and you can see in the second, in the mid photo, that the guy was armed with a ball launcher. I mean, this was so disheartening. Unbeknownst to me, when those guys were rifling through my pockets, this man was already in the back of the police vehicle. His head actually went underwater when they tackled him. So he couldn't take a breath for a couple of seconds. And because of that, our local district attorney, Janine Paccioni, in addition to charging him with entering a disaster area, charged him with 148A1 obstruction of a peace officer in the function of their duties. So when your head is submerged underwater and you are under attack, our police department and DA will spank you for that. So then I want to show people the sign, the poster board that was set up at the entrances to our beach. Okay, so here's another threat. No group gatherings. You have the power to keep our beautiful beach open for all of us to enjoy. Maintain 6-foot social distance. Social distancing reduces the spread of COVID-19. And when you put one right next to the other, you see what the real reason was for why they closed our beach. I knew right from the beginning that it had nothing to do with keeping the people safe. And it was nothing more and nothing less than exerting power over the obedient masses in my county and laying claim to that which belongs to all of God's children. And this is the reason that I blew a gasket. So, because social distancing helps to stop the spread of COVID-19, don't force the city or health department to close the beach, unless, of course, it means enforcing the social distancing with a 3-man pileup. So, my God, you know, they are not maintaining social distance while walking or tackling peaceful people. So they threaten the people with fines and jail time for not maintaining social distance because of the life-saving 6-foot space. And yet this looks to me like a dreaded group gathering. We're going to tackle you to keep you safe. You know, if you also notice, none of these officers are wearing gloves. Officer Boucher doesn't have a mask on. This was outrageous tyranny. And me and Jay were the only two in this county to stand up to this. And I can't wait to tell people about what it is that I've been doing since then, because it's a gift to everybody that sees this video and that can be inspired by this. All right. Oh, here's another thing. The district attorney listed on my charging instrument that the victim was the state of California for the crimes that this man and I had committed. So, in other words, they threatened the people with jail time. They told us that we could not swim or surf in the ocean. I mean, this is like, you know, these guys were getting a psychosexual thrill out of dominating the lives of peaceful people. And there's no better example of it than this photo and that sign right next to it. Incidentally, the Carmel Police Department has refused to give me the body cam footage of this incident. Any footage that they did send me was muted, blurred, and edited. I got bits and pieces of it, but I have not gotten all of it. So since then, the other two officers in this photo have been promoted. Corporal Bruno and Detective Jacob, his name is Jacob Clifford or Clifford Jacob, have been promoted. Okay, so Jay and I are then driven up the bluff to be displayed in front of the no doubt salivating onlookers that were watching the show of disobedient slaves being caught because they didn't have the courage to come down there and help us to stand against it. Then I'm taken to the police department. I am searched for a second time by an officer who has never taken an oath to office, Dawn Almario. She has no training to conduct searches, and the police department has admitted that their only source of authority for laying hands on me multiple times is their own policy manual. She takes off my belt, and the general mood in the back parking lot was celebratory. It was really a slave catcher mentality, and it was incredibly humiliating. So on the way to the jail, Officer Boucher stops off at a gas station just to pump his tires up. This takes 9.5 minutes, as though he wanted to prolong this excruciating experience, or it's no mind to him because we're objects. And they were also talking in the police vehicle on the beach about how they were going to take Jay to county. And he said, you're already going to be arrested, and you're not going to get to see a judge until at least Monday. Well, that is a violation of your due process. Your liberty is sacred. And it's become completely acceptable to all these deputies and police officers to take you from the scene of arrest to the jail. They are required by law, and this goes all the way back to the Magna Carta, that they have to take you from the scene of arrest directly to the magistrate. They can't stop anywhere else in between. So they're going to take us to the jail. I'm going to be fingerprinted, booked. I'm going to have my mugshot taken. So we're going to, I'm going to show people what it is that happens once I get taken to the intake room. And what has happened in the garage prior to this is I have now been in handcuffs for 3 hours. and I don't want to give up my temperature. And Boucher continues to escalate the threats against my safety by saying, I'm going to have to take you to Natividad, the local hospital. They're going to hold you down. They're going to poke and prod you. They're going to take your temperature wherever they want. You won't have a choice over there. And I keep saying my body is my property. Why are you making fun of me? While I'm still, I have my hands tied behind my back in the back of the vehicle, and there's 4 people that are, 3 of them are armed. And so eventually I relent because I was terrified, and it really burned that I had to surrender my temperature. Now we are going to see, and as I'm leaving the police vehicle, I believe her name is Deputy McFarland, while I can't resist, she slips a mask over my head. So I got the health intake screening questionnaire and what they're supposed to do, the protocol at the sheriff's department. If I had answered yes to questions about whether or not I was carrying TB, were they permitted to order me to put a mask on. All right, so yeah, we can go ahead and show that, and I want people to see how dehumanizing this is, that you are treated like livestock. All right, go ahead. You want to cue up that?
So I got her name right on that one.
So he just threw my purse on the ground.
Do you want me to search her? Huh? Ah, shit. It's B. I'm sorry. I wrote it really fast.
Now I'm going to be searched for a third time.
They have to search you once they're here.
For a second. Okay, so these are euphemisms. This is not a search. I'm being molested. I've been forced to put on this duck mask. I'm suffocating. My hands are tied behind my back. I have an armed, masked stranger running her hands all over my private parts. What have I done? Why am I here? And who are these people? I was just standing on the beach. And what this deputy does in full view of a male officer, I don't even know if this is legal. This goes on for 2.5 minutes. Okay, go ahead.
It's just a bunch of standard procedures they do.
Now he's going to try to make light of this. No, don't take it personal.
In case I missed something. The clear bag just has her money in it. Everything else is...
Now the other one is going through my money. He's going through my belongings and my purse while I'm being molested. He just kicked my legs open. I tried to protest and I said, they've already searched me twice.
I think I just threw it in the bag.
This is a wretched ritual. What have I haven't threatened anybody. Why am I going through this? Continuing to put her hands on me.
Against who?
And then listen to the questions she's going to start to ask me.
How, if you end up staying here by yourself for any reason?
Just keep your feet spread there, Teresa. We're almost done. You're almost there.
We're almost done. You're gonna get a Sunday when this is all over. A lollipop. Still running her hands on me. Haven't threatened anybody. I've been no risk.
I don't know what
If you end up staying here, do you need to be placed in a cell by yourself?
Do you have any enemies that would be in here that you need to be in a cell by yourself, or do you feel like you would be a victim of something here? That's what she's asking. Do you need to be by yourself?
I'm your buddy now.
Besides what happened earlier.
I'm your buddy now.
I'm saying for in here.
Keep your hands behind your back, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so all of my belongings that Boucher took out of my purse are in that bag.
So, Teresa, they can't take your Le Croix, is that how you say it? And your sparkling water. So, I can write you a property receipt for it, or do you want me to just toss it? No.
Or
Not,
can't
not,
have water?
well, that's something on them. That's the, I don't work
Running
here,
her
so I
hands
can't
all
give you
over
that
me.
answer. So I can either throw this away for you, or I could write a property receipt for it real
Keep your
quick.
hand behind your back.
And then you have to come back to the police
Hands
department
behind
and
your
get it.
back, slave. This is a slave way station.
Keep your hand behind your back.
Yep, there you go.
Gotta do as you're told.
Have you ever been charged with a sex crime?
Listen to the question that I'm
Just
just
keep facing the
asked.
wall. Keep.
Teresa, have you ever been charged with a sex crime?
Can you stop it, Will?
He told me
Okay, so I've just been released out of handcuffs. I've been in there for 3 hours. I'm 30 miles away from my car. I've been forced to give up my temperature. I've been forced to wear a mask. I just had an armed stranger run her hands all over my private parts. And now I'm being asked, and this one has already gone through my money. They've gone through my purse and my wallet. And now I'm being asked if I've ever been charged with a sex crime. It's absolutely outrageous that this is happening in this country. We have got to put a stop to this. All right, go ahead.
outside, I have the right to remain silent.
Okay, that's regarding his question. This is a question to get you processed in our jail. If
And
you don't answer,
I'm invoking that right.
if you do not answer these questions, there's no way we can book you, and you're going to be staying here for many, many hours that you don't want to be
Okay,
here.
so
I
now
want
I'm
an
threatening
attorney.
them.
These questions are not attorney related, has nothing to do with your crime, it's only to do with your housing. All right, Teresa, go ahead and take off your sandals.
Now I'm forced to disrobe. It just reaches in my pocket. I no longer have any privacy.
So, real quick, Teresa, do you want me to do a property receipt for your soda and your
Go ahead and hand them to me.
90%?
All right. So now these guys have taken my money out of my wallet, and I've been put in a cell with 2 other inmates. And I want to show people what happens after they go into your wallet. He's sticking money that he took off of me into a cash machine. Okay, so and here he is stuffing money that he stole from me into a cash machine. When I'm released at 3 o'clock in the morning, I only get part of my cash back, and the rest they write out in a check. I haven't even had the time to research what that check is all about. Why don't you just get cash returned? It goes into a prisoner trust fund. Okay, so I am released at 3 o'clock in the morning. And they also they upload this mugshot onto the internet the following day. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I have no mace to protect myself. It's dark. It's an industrial area. I'm disoriented. I'm scared. So the police department doesn't care what happens to you when you get released into that type of an environment at night. They don't care if or how you get home. I couldn't find a cab for 2 hours, so I had to wait at a coffee shop until 5 o'clock in the morning, and then it cost me $100 to get back to my car. So I did not go to the arraignment. So they arraigned me, and they charged me for possession of tear gas and entering a disaster area. And there's a couple of reasons for why I didn't. The first one is that I rescinded my signature on the contract that I was forced to sign. And in California, that is Government Code 1689, subsection B. It's called rescission. So you have the right to rescind your signature on a contract if you were forced to sign under threats, duress, and coercion. So I did that. I submitted it to the court within the period of time that I was required to do. And Judge Elizabeth Mineta, unfortunately, violated her oath to office because she should have accepted that rescission on the contract, and instead she ordered a bench warrant for my arrest. All right, secondly, I owe nothing to any of these people. I don't need to spend money on an attorney. I don't need to go, quote unquote, defend myself against anything. I don't need to appear before these traffic commissioners and be scared that I might say the wrong thing because I committed no crime. And that's where it ends. You know, I was in service to God that day, and I answered a call to action. Anyone that comes between me and my service to God is an interloper anyway, and they mean nothing to me. And anyone, including these pathetic, you know, excuses for impartial referees in the lower courts and tyrants that would submerge a man's head underwater while he's walking with his dog, you know, in the name of keeping us safe while committing a theft of biblical proportions, are the ones that have to atone, not me. I hope, you know, the reason I went out there that day is because I was hoping to make God proud. So she issued a bench warrant. So 2 months later, Labor Day, the same two tyrants, Chief Paul Tomasi and Chip Rara, decide that they are again going to close our beach. And the two photos that we're going to show you is what they did. Again, they you know, string this police tape all the way along Scenic on the perimeter of the beach. And this is 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday because they scared the bejesus out of everybody. It should have been packed. I mean, you know, the audacity of parasites, political parasites, believing that they can lay claim to nature and somebody wasn't going to rise up and teach them a tough lesson. So people that are watching this later, I would encourage, if you can go to Labor Day, it's on my channel under Teresa Vicola, and you can see that we put them back in their place. We served them with a notice of violation. It was very short. In essence, it said, hey, we the people are going to use the parks and beaches whenever we want. And if you come between us and our God-given rights again, we're going to sue you for everything that you have or may ever own. And the beach again was completely deserted. And 12 of us cut that police tape down. We marched out there and we freed the other people that were waiting behind the police tape again. So I encourage people to go and watch that video. Now, what I'm about to show you is when I believe I am required to show up at the police department in order to obtain the body camera footage of the initial unlawful imprisonment. I have been told that they will not mail it to me, that I cannot send a friend to pick it up, that I have to come in person. So I am aware of this supposed, well, there was no warrant. It was a defective written instrument that had been issued against my liberty unlawfully and amorally by Judge Elizabeth Mineta. And I partially underestimated their hubris and stupidity, these two officers that come out. And it's also, I should tell people that if, you know, if you've never been arrested again before, it's a horrifying experience. And I have to face my jailer because he's the one that they send out. So warrants are for removing those of us that are a danger to society. That's what warrants are for. They're for people that have created victims. And there are ironclad parameters that must be included on these warrants for them to have any force in law, namely probable cause. Probable cause, have you produced a victim? It has to be accompanied by oath or affirmation from the injured party. It must particularly describe the place to be searched, and all warrants must be signed by a judge. It's Federal Rule of Procedure, I think it's 4, warrant of arrest. All warrants must be signed by a judge. The violence that Officer Boucher and his accomplice Gerald Maldonado are about to commit is all under the color of law. So yeah, you can queue up attack a police department or whatever.
You have an outstanding warrant for your arrest.
Where's the warrant?
So we're getting a copy of it. So what we'll do is we'll, as a gesture, okay, we're gonna just cite you out on your warrant, or we could take you to jail. Which one would you rather prefer?
Have you seen the warrant?
Yes.
Where is it?
It's being printed.
You can't have a copy of it.
Why not? How
Why
else are we
not?
supposed
You're
to know
asking
somebody-
me? You're law enforcement.
But why else would we know there's a warrant if we hadn't seen it?
Don't you understand the law? You're supposed to have
Absolutely.
an original of the warrant in your hand with a wet ink signature from the judge. Where is it? Really? You want me to supply the penal code
So a
that
warrant
shows
can
that
be
you are
transferred-
supposed to?
a
Oh no,
warrant
it
can be
can't.
transferred, yes,
Oh
can.
no, it can't.
Can.
Do you want to see the warrant?
So do you want to go to jail or do you want me to cite you out? Well, which one?
You are
which-
not going to do either, because I'll tell you right
Okay,
now.
go ahead and turn around.
Okay,
You're live right now.
If you
You're
deprive me of my
live.
liberty,
You're live.
You are agreeing to pay me $10 million.
off of her right
now.
You're
Wow.
depriving her
You
of
can
her rights.
film all
Wow.
If you deprive me of my liberty, I am going to sue you
Carmel
for $10 million.
Yeah, look at that.
The
Carmel police.
This is, you are on notice right
Oh
now.
my
Hey,
God,
hey,
you guys
unnecessary.
are unbelievable. You're unbelievable. Stop
No!
touching me. You're unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Get back, sir.
No, we are not getting back.
Depriving people of their rights. You have no right to do any of
You
this
don't tell us
crap.
anything.
You don't
You're
tell me.
criminals.
You don't tell me. Who are you? You're a servant.
You guys are on notice. You're
You
depriving
haven't
You
me
been
of my
owe me.
dismissed.
What's your name?
Are you depriving me of
Maldonado
my liberty?
Kid, you're a little kid.
You are kidnapping me.
Criminal.
You have not
Get away
from me.
Don't touch her. Don't touch You me. better This is stop. assault. You better This is stop. assault.
Arrest me on
You're
a
going to be
defective
arrested
warrant.
now.
You are
You
not
are gonna be
permitted to
arrested
arrest me
now.
on a defective
How
warrant.
dare you touch
You are
anybody?
committing a felony. You are
Wow,
committing
you
a
guys are
felony.
the criminals.
Jay
You're a
Boucher.
disgrace. Is this what
Boucher.
you wished for?
You
Growing
are
up?
committing a felony arresting me on a
This is
I'm
defective
hoping
warrant.
to be a thug.
This is an unpermitted
I'm
warrant.
hoping
It was
to be a
not
thug.
signed by a judge, and you know it. Get your hands off of
You're
it.
going to be
You
sued.
will be
You're
served.
You would be
You're
sued.
insane. Who is this officer? What is your name and badge number? You thugs. What's your name and badge
Don't
number,
touch
sir?
my stuff.
Don't touch any of our things.
Back up.
What's your name and badge number?
I'm going to own this police department.
Oh, yeah,
guys,
you
don't worry
are.
about it.
What a bunch of thugs. Wow.
Call Fritz
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
and Sue Ann.
You guys are thugs.
I take your
You're
bracelet.
criminals.
You
You
guys
don't
back
even
up
know
a
what.
bit? I have
No, we don't
problem
have to
if
do
you film, but just
anything.
back up.
You're
Why?
awful.
My
You're
sister.
awful.
You
thug.
back up.
My sister.
You're the criminals.
Who's got her number?
You're the criminals.
It's in the phone.
Wow.
Do you have a code?
948-4567.
Do
You have her phone.
I
right?
do. Do you have a
Wow,
code
but you're
to
doing
get on your
live.
phone?
You are not permitted
This
to
is
arrest me on a
amazing.
defective warrant.
This
you
is coming out
fucking
of your own
morons.
money.
Yeah,
know
you
that,
can't
right?
take
You
it.
guys have
We're
no
gonna
idea.
You be
Wait,
sued
wait,
personally.
Violated your own.
Wow.
You violated your own.
Yeah,
You
you're
just
impersonating
you arrested
police
somebody.
officers.
Where's the warrant?
Yeah, where's
Show
the
it.
warrant?
Do you have it in your possession?
the
Do
warrant?
you have it in
Where's
your
the
possession?
warrant?
You do not. You illegally arrested her for
Oh my
nothing.
God.
Wow.
Florence.
I got your
Wow.
Where
bracelet.
is the warrant?
Wow.
Where's the signed warrant? Where is it?
Okay.
Where is
Wow.
it? Where's the signed
You're a
warrant?
criminal.
Where is it?
Criminal.
Where's the signed
Criminals.
warrant?
You're a disgrace.
Where is it?
Are you the-
Shame
Where
on
is it?
you.
Are the-
You guys
are
are
you the
violating
officer in charge?
liberty and
Are you
rights.
the officer
Shame
in
on
charge?
you.
You're criminals. Criminals.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Wow.
All right, so you
You
want
are
to stop
sorry.
it while I'm
I'm
bringing
sorry.
back me? All right, so what happens after they bring me inside the police department is that those two officers, Boucher and Maldonado, take me to the intake room. I'm slammed up against the wall again while they tell me not to resist so that they can unfasten my handcuffs for a couple of seconds and steal my purse, which they actually still have. And the whole time they're telling me not to resist. Boucher flashes a blank piece of paper in front of my eyes for a second and tells me it's the warrant. I was never actually shown the warrant because there is no warrant. There was no warrant. Warrants are for criminals. And then once he takes me out to the back parking lot, I'm screaming for my friends because I'm scared and I'm restrained. And he kicked the back of my knee in and then shoved me into the police vehicle. And I'm demanding to be taken to a magistrate. And again, they drag me all the way to the sheriff's jail, 30 miles away. Gerald Maldonado actually steals my temperature this time. I'm fairly certain that he grabbed my ponytail because I pulled my head into the car. And I am taken into the intake room. I'm held down. They force a mask on my face. And then I'm released 22 hours later. And the whole time I'm crowing about being taken to a magistrate. So I want to show people that inside that police department, they have a policy, and it is 612.6. I'm going to show it there, Will. So this is what they are required to do because warrants are instruments of violence. And Officer Boucher and Maldonado and Tomasi, who's the chief of police that opened the door at the end, they were supposed to have prepared for that warrant service by ensuring the documentation and support of the warrant contains, as applicable, probable cause to support the search or arrest, including relevant dates and times to demonstrate timeliness, and facts to support any request for nighttime warrant execution. B, a clear explanation of the affiant's training. The affiant is the one that submitted the affidavit for the warrant, experience, and relevant education. Now, this is a screenshot of Officer Boucher's police report. Carmel Dispatch Records advised me of an outstanding warrant for Bacola's arrest. The warrant was previously confirmed before the contact. Meaning, okay, you could take it down, Will. Meaning, he didn't prepare for the warrant service. There was no probable cause. There was no oath or affirmation. It didn't particularly describe the place to be searched. He didn't prepare for the warrant service. So I am not really functioning psychologically and spiritually for about 2 months after this attack. But once I emerged, I went on the warpath. And I started reading their policy manual, case law, the California government codes, and I started submitting public records requests. And I found one violation after another after another. I ascertained that neither one of those police reports were signed, neither the one for the beach or the one, the attack at the police department. I started submitting professional conduct complaints on this officer and Johnson for trying to charge me with possession of a weapon that I didn't have. They were supposed to have filed a certificate of service in California pursuant to Penal Code 817 subsection H that had the time that they served the warrant, who served it. There's like 4 different required facts that they have to include on the certificate of service. I submitted a number of public records requests, and 3.5 months, 13 years with that department, Chief Paul Tomasi, the one that conspired with Rarig to steal a gift from God and threaten the people for swimming and sticking their feet in the sand. And Paul Tomasi was forced to resign, and he's now a security guard at the aquarium. 3.5 months, lawful notifications, professional conduct complaints, and public records requests. And that tyrant was forced to resign in shame. I also got my car stolen by the sheriff's department in Monterey County. And they were supposed to have given me a 24-hour notice. They intentionally undervalued my car. They towed it 30 miles away. They wound up selling it. And I really gave them a rectal exam. And the sheriff had been censored last spring by the Board of Supervisors. And then I compiled a savage conditional acceptance, which was a culmination of all of my research into everything they had done wrong when they stole my car. I had it served in the beginning of October last year, and within 10 days, both the sheriff and the undersheriff announced their resignations. I also managed to run into Richard Storms. You want to show that one, Will? Okay, so Richard Storms is the one who charged me with entering a disaster area on the beach and possession of a weapon that I did not possess, and obstruction of a public officer in the function of his duties at the police department. I got charged for what happened at the police department by this guy. So I just happened to run into him at a fundraiser, and he had no idea who I was, and he posed and lied about how the power has been taken from the people, and he only goes after the hardest criminals. And I humiliated him at a fundraiser, and a month and a half later, he dropped out of the race. And I also had the custodian of records at the sheriff's department take time for some reason to let me know that she had also retired from that department. And I had a hair trigger for the city clerk in Carmel because she was continually hiding signatures on government documents. And I submitted a number of lawful notifications to her. And it was 6 weeks after she got a courtesy notice with a fee schedule attached, and she left as well. So not only have I been knocking tyrants off of their pedestal, but I have a really delicious video that I'm excited to show people. So we're about to see Joe Boucher again. And now the playing field is a little bit more level, because now it has to do with the battle of the wits and the mind, where I excel, and apparently Joe Boucher doesn't do so well. And so what I'm delivering to him is a precursor to a Title 42. And we're going to see the big, big problem that Joe Boucher has with some paperwork. All right, roll the clip.
Greg Johnson and Paul Tomasi.
What agency are you with?
I'm just a private, I'm a friend of Teresa Bucola, who is serving these documents.
Are these any kind of like civil documents or something?
They're.
Are you a legal processor?
No.
That can serve documents like this to people?
Okay, stop. Okay, so we're going to hear lots and lots of excuses and things. He's trying to figure out what he can do to stop the impending train wreck. All right, go ahead, Will.
I'm a man.
Okay.
I'm a friend of Teresa's.
Okay. She's more than happy to mail them in. So we don't, because of COVID and everything, we're not going to take any documentation.
I've given them here twice during COVID before.
Okay. Well, if you're not a server, like a process server that serves legal documents,
you don't have to have a license to serve be a process server.
Well, you have to be appointed by the court, correct?
No.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we don't need them. So what kind of documents are they?
Oh, but they're coming anyway.
They're legal documents.
What kind of legal documents?
Common law legal process.
What are they for?
They're for various things. Teresa did them all. I'm just her friend.
Then she have a company serve them.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
That's not true. I've served them here myself personally twice before. I've served them to the Carmel Sheriff, to the Santa Clara County Sheriff.
What kind of documents are there? Because I can't take them unless the city attorney takes them. If you want to go to the city and serve the city attorney.
No, we've been told that before. That's not correct.
Okay, but I work for the city.
Yes.
And I know the city attorney doesn't want me to accept any documents that have to do with any kind of civil matters or civil suits.
I
can't accept them if they're because of a civil suit, because I'm not.
It's not a suit. They're legal processes. They're notices.
Notices of what?
So if people want to see the complete shredding of Officer Boucher, you can go to my channel, and I think it was first attempt at service at the police department. And then we have a follow-up one, which is Mr. Boucher, you are served. So one of the reasons I wanted to show this to people is because I don't care how small you are, how old you are, you always have the ability to fight back against tyrants, always. I just gave that police department, City Hall, Chip Rarig, and the Monterey County Sheriff's Department a paper colonoscopy. And at this point, I'm going to need resources to see this through all the way to completion, because I just filed a Title 42 federal lawsuit. And if you want to look it up, there it is. Bucola versus Boucher. That's what you get for harming me, and worst of all, thinking that they weren't going to incur the wrath of God that day. because I heard God. And God said that is a gift to all of my children, not just the bullies. So I'm going to need approximately $40,000. I'm going to have to pay to rent a room for depositions. I'll need videographers, court stenographers, transcripts, and I may need to hire a land surveyor to see if I was actually below the high water mark on the beach. I'm going to need somebody to do forensic analysis of the body camera footage, as well as money to live on, because this is going to require approximately 1,200 hours of time. But let me explain to people. I have not hired an attorney. I have done this all on my own with my crack team of tyrant slayers behind me, but none of them are attorneys, because I believe it's a sin to subcontract out the protection of your rights to a third party, in particular, a stranger. Nobody else is going to fight with the fierceness to protect your rights than you are. And there is almost no stone that I have left unturned in the jail, city hall, and the police department. I mean, I know the California Public Records Act better than my servants do. And I hang them with their own words all the time. And so maybe this video reaches some of the people that stood cowering behind the police tape. This is your time. You know, there's no time like the present to become a hero. You still have a chance. If there are those of us out there that don't want to go through what it is that I went through, you know, you can still help me. And I really want to teach this process to people around the country that really want to free themselves from the maw of tyranny. And that's what I'm doing. I'm freeing myself from the maw of tyranny. You know, going forward, I'm going to need resources. So I hope you can help. Thank you very much for your time. God bless everybody. And please go to my Facebook page, which is my name, Teresa Bacola, and my YouTube channel. I got to get a little bit better about uploading my live streams to Facebook. But I do a lot of instruction on how the nuts and bolts of how to subdue a tyrant. And in my prayer belief, I have put that I want Maldonado, Johnson, Rehrig, and Boucher to resign. I want them to be terminated. So if it made you angry, what happened to Jay and I on the beach, if you know that the sand is sacred, if it made you angry at what happened to me at the police department, then you can help me and my beautiful best friend to get justice. So that's it. Thank you very much. God bless everybody, and I'll see you soon.